Yes, it is the Wednesday edition of the Morning Buzz here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey. I am filling in for Tara Cicchetti today. I am Amanda Marino, joined alongside Jazlyn, Sarpong, and Anna Broadhead. How are you guys today?
How are you, Amanda?
It's another fun-filled Wednesday. It was kind of cold out today, which I'm really bummed about, but it's going to be a great day. I feel it. I feel like we got a lot of good stories to talk about. I'm excited. It's almost the end of the semester. We got to get the
Right?
energy up. Let's go. It's even though it's 8 o'clock in the morning, we got to get that energy up. So let's go.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm not feeling like Floyd in this Mayweather. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is very, very cold.
It is. I don't know why this keeps happening. Like, I feel like I wake up and it's like 40 degrees, and then by the end of the day, it's like 70, and I'm like, why?
Just
too much.
It's New Jersey.
Welcome to Jersey.
But anyways, we have a fun-filled show today. Anna is going to be filling in with that news update. But before we hit into that news update, let me intro it. Why not?
Ooh.
This news is brought to you by 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
Ooh.
So what is going on in the news world, Anna?
All right. Good morning, Buzz listeners. This is Anna Broadhead bringing you today's top news stories. So in international news, the worst fighting between Israelis and Palestinians in 7 years intensified on Tuesday night. Israeli airstrikes began targeting Hamas officers in Gaza City, and militants in Gaza fired rockets at the metropolis of Tel Aviv, which is the southern city of Ashkelon and Israel's main airport. 30 people have been reported dead, and experts fear that the violence is still in its early stages. Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming delivered a defiant last stand hours before facing a vote to out her from the House Republican leadership for her outspoken critique of former President Donald Trump's election lies. Ms. Cheney declared on Tuesday that the nation was facing a, quote, never seen before, end quote, threat in a former president who provoked the January 6th Capitol attack and who, quote, has resumed his aggressive effort to convince Americans that the election was stolen from him, end quote. We will wait to hear the verdict of the vote later today. New Jersey-born actor Norman Lloyd has died at 106. Lloyd, who was born in Jersey City, has starred in numerous TV shows and movies throughout his life. Lloyd passed away Tuesday evening in his current home in Los Angeles. We send our condolences to his family and friends. In Montclair news, seniors are preparing for their 2021 commencement ceremonies. With graduation less than a month away, all of the final details are being put together for the ceremonies, which will be held at Sprague Field. Graduation will occur over several days as students still need to be separated into smaller groups in order to accommodate social distancing requirements for graduates and attendees. And now for a quick weather report. It's going to be a sunny day in Montclair today. The high for the day is 67 and the low is 46, and sunset will be at 8:05 p.m. tonight. That's it for today's news update. This is Anna Broadhead reporting for WMSC 90.3.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you, Anna. And I like that intro, Amanda. I like that. It's
fancy. I know. It adds a little like flavor to the show a little bit, I think.
All right. Speaking of flavor to the show, you know my favorite sportsman is here to give us the update. Matt, what's going on?
Good morning. I'm Matt Boucher, and here's your 2-minute sports report. So Montclair sports are winding down and coming to a close as we get closer to the end of the school year. Next week, both the women's and the men's outdoor track team will be competing at the AAR TFC Championships. As of right now, that is the only scheduled sporting event for the Redhawks. In professional sports, ex-Hawaii star quarterback and record setter Colt Brennan died at age 37. Colt finished 6th in Heisman voting in 2006 and 3rd in 2007, while he finished 4th in all-time and career touchdown passes with 131. In the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars made a splash in the media after signing former quarterback Tim Tebow to reunite with head coach Urban Meyer. The duo won 2 national championships at Florida from 2006 to 2009. The interesting part, Tim Tebow will be taking on a new position as he will be a tight end. In the MLB, the Mets won an exciting game last night after being down 2-1 in the bottom of the 9th. The Mets strung together a few hits, which resulted in Patrick Mazeika hitting another walk-off that drove Jonathan Villar home. The Mets extend their winning streak to 6, while the Yankees looked dominant for 9 innings, only allowing 1 run and winning the game 3-1. Tomorrow, the Mets will stay at Citi Field against the Orioles at 12:10, or today at 12:10, while the Yankees stay at Tampa Bay for a game at 7:10. In the NBA, the Nets beat the Bulls 115-107, we have an injury update on James Harden as he seems to be very close to returning, although Kyrie Irving suffered a face contusion last night after taking an elbow to the face. The Knicks were on the West Coast last night, taking on the Lakers, which resulted in losing in overtime. And today, in sports history, in 1972, the Giants traded Willie Mays to the Mets for pitcher Charlie Williams, as well as some cash. We'll send it back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Matt. I always love his little sports report because I love that you give us like a history too. Like that's something that we don't get by just like watching like any sports network. We get like a little history today, and I love that.
The little,
I be
little
trying
background.
to tell y'all, he's the regular Stephen A. Smith. I be trying to tell you, I don't hear me though when I say it.
A little background on that was that one of these times I had what I had, and I was like, I feel like it's missing something. Like I needed like one more thing just to like, just to like set it over the edge. And I was like, today in history, let's go.
We love that.
As you should.
We love the dedication. As Matt is actually a sportscaster on 2 of the Morning Buzz shows in the week. So thank you for your dedication to the Buzz. Anyways, Anna mentioned about graduation and graduation happening at Montclair, but we had an interesting story that popped up yesterday, or actually Monday, that we talked about on the Buzz yesterday about Rutgers opting to not have their graduation like in person. And meanwhile, like everybody else is still attempting it. They're doing small graduations. Yesterday, after the Buzz, they actually now have announced they are having in-person commencement. So I would say we did something, but I'm sure we probably didn't. But like,
shout out to the Buzz, man.
We did it on the Buzz. But Rutgers will now officially have an in-person commencement. And I really wanted to talk about that because I think yesterday it was really kind of sad to think that they've been having all these football games and stuff, and they're not going to be able to honor the graduates. Now, unfortunately, the graduates will not be honored until October and November. So Rutgers University New Brunswick and RBHS is going to be in October 22nd to 23rd. Rutgers University Newark will be November 8th through 10th, and Rutgers University Camden will be December 1st through 4th. So they're spreading them out a little bit. But this is a better option than being virtual. They're going to do last year's ceremony and this year's. So they're going to be making up for the last year's virtual one, which, I mean, I understand Rutgers is a big school, but I'm glad they ended up making this decision because it's kind of ridiculous that over here at Montclair, we're able to do them and every other school is attempting to do the graduations. But just because they maybe wanted to save a few bucks, that I think was ridiculous.
I was going to say, it's only fair. Like, if you're going to have sporting events, then why not have a graduation?
Exactly what I'm saying. And I understand, like, you're making money off football and stuff, but, like, it's not fair. And we were talking about it specifically yesterday because there was a medical student that wrote about it on NJ.com, and he was saying, like, I worked on the front lines this whole time, and the one thing I wanted was to have this graduation, and so did my class. We're all vaccinated, we're fine. Why can't we do one? And that was heartbreaking to me. So I'm so glad that now they're going to have an opportunity to be able to have that graduation, have that honor. I mean, you put a lot of time, put a lot of money into a college education. Like, I don't know. Are you guys happy about this? I know I'm pretty sure I am overjoyed for them.
I totally am. And I feel like, kind of like what you said, with this pandemic, right? It's been really hard for a lot of people to stay in school, let alone finish.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to those people who weren't able to pull through. Don't feel bad because everybody's path is different. I always say so. Don't feel bad. Don't feel like, oh, dang, all my friends were able to finish and I couldn't, and blah, blah, blah. It's fine. Like, if you couldn't finish, you couldn't finish. Or you couldn't, like, if you had to take a semester off, even a year off because your mental state couldn't handle it, that's totally fine. Like, people are crippling over here. No, I'm just kidding. But, it's hard. So, it's real hard. So the people who were able to pull through and who were, thank God we would finish all their classes, I feel like they deserve that, especially now. Like, they deserve to be celebrated. Like, sometimes I wish institutions, not just Rutgers, but just institutions in general would look past, how much money they're going to make off of something and just understand that, I mean, it's a business, but at the end of the day, you should at least fake care about your students. I don't know, like, let them have something.
It's true. And I mean, I know we give a lot of we have a lot of issues with sometimes the policies that Montclair gives out and stuff, especially like this past semester with being like all these restrictions and stuff. But in fairness, they're still doing a graduation. They're still trying to do all these things. And whether they actually, it's making them money or not, which I think they still are. And at the end, like, they're still trying for the students,
Yeah.
even in the hardest of times. And you have to give Montclair credit and all the other universities that are doing that. They're trying, even in the hardest of times. And even last year, Montclair did a graduation last year when we like knew a lot less about COVID. So
Yeah.
I give them so much credit for that, because like I would be really upset if I was attending Rutgers and knew I didn't get a graduation. Like that,
think
like
it's
virtual
nice.
is just not the same.
I think it's nice that they're also including like both years of graduates. Like
Yeah.
my brother was a 2020 graduate from TCNJ, and just like 2 weeks ago they finally held their in-person commencement ceremonies, and I guess they held them similar to how Montclair is going to hold theirs. They split them up into like their individual schools, like School of Engineering, School of Education, and what have you.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think it was nice. Everyone was completely socially distanced. It was like a short and sweet ceremony because they had their longer virtual one. But I think it was like, that final closing of the book that maybe they never got to have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think any school should have that opportunity to do that, because it's something that you really work hard for, and a virtual thing is just not the same. To walk
not.
across the stage and get like, even if it's just the diploma cover, it's still a moment that you should be able to share with your family and friends and feel like you accomplished something. Like I don't feel like I like would accomplish anything if I just like hit leave meeting on Zoom and I was done. You know what I mean?
I'm dead. No, because honestly, and like I said, like even though I'm pretty sure, like because I worked commencement last year, and they did an awesome job. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to all the professors, teachers. It's very early, ladies, so your names are slipping my mind right now. Forgive me, but they know who they are. They did an amazing job when it came to commencement, when it came to keeping everybody socially distant, when it came to like requiring masks, and we were outside in the heat, so it also helped.
Hot summer days.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is awesome, and congrats to any graduates that are graduating this year. And
Congratulations, guys.
yes, and also congrats to the people that are gonna finally get that ceremony from last year too. So congrats to all of them. This is exciting news from Rutgers. But we should move on.
We should.
Jazlyn,
Oh my gosh.
should we
Amanda,
talk
they're
about
wilding.
this gas shortage?
They're wilding in these streets, Amanda. I don't know what's going on. They're acting up in these streets. All right. So this is an article by NJ.com. And apparently people are freaking out because all up and down the East Coast, they are actually having gas shortages, which is causing the prices to go up. However, this is what the title of the article says. Gas shortage is unlikely in New Jersey, but prices on the East Coast are going up. All right, let's get into this article, okay, y'all? Because you guys are toilet paper in it again, and then it's unacceptable. So, and this part always tickles me because I feel like it's hilarious. It's not funny, but it's hilarious. Gas prices along the East Coast are forecasted to jump this week with the recent cyber attack that shut down the Colonial Pipeline, which moves gas between the Gulf Coast and the East Coast. But experts say so long as people in Jersey don't engage in panic buying, the cyber attack should not cause a gas shortage in New Jersey. So just a little bit behind the cyber attack. The Colonial Pipeline delivers 45%, which is almost half of the fuel to the East Coast, to proactively take certain systems offline. So they were hit, so it shut down to protect itself. So you guys, I know a lot of states were hit with this, right? So I understand your concern. However, you guys need to understand when you start panic buying, that's how shortages happen.
It never ends well when you panic buy.
Don't sit there and fill temporary gasoline tank thingies, the portable ones. Don't sit there and fill 8 of them because you're scared that an apocalypse is going to come and you won't be able to drive your car.
That's literally what happened like a year ago with the pandemic. Everyone's like, oh no, we're not going to be able to go to the grocery store. And mind you, by the way, the grocery stores here in New Jersey, in
Never
the United
closed.
States, never closed.
Yeah.
I can't speak for every other country of what they did, because I know some people were like, you have to only go out at certain times if you were in like parts of Europe and stuff. But here in New Jersey, the grocery stores never shut down. You want to know why? Because I worked at one and we never shut down. We never shut down. I know. Even
And
like like even throughout, and we never had a day where we shut down. Maybe if the power went out, but not like anything else. Like, come on. We always got shipments of toilet paper and stuff in, mind you, by the way. It just would sell out because people would panic. And it's like, stop panicking.
And it's like toilet paper of all things.
Yes. And now with this gas thing, like, you're now going to cause the price to go up because you're panicking and you're like buying excessive amounts of it. And that's what's going to end up happening. And by the way, I do want to throw out, because I've been hearing a lot on social media about all this stuff. And I've been hearing that people are like, oh, it's Biden's fault. Oh, we haven't heard about it in the news. Why aren't we just hearing about it now? I've been hearing about it since like the end of last week. Also, this has nothing to do with President Biden. We literally had a cyber attack.
Like,
this would have happened under any presidency. This could have happened under anybody's control. This was just like a freak thing that happened.
Human beings just disappoint me sometimes.
Well, I mean, they should disappoint you with the fact that we had to worry about toilet paper last year.
That still will always and forever confuse me. Like, I never understood out of all, like, vitamins were still fully stocked on the shelves. Cleaning supplies were still fully stocked.
I don't know what grocery store you were shopping at. Cleaning supplies, there's still places that you can't get cleaning supplies.
I'm talking about when they thought Armageddon was happening and they first started panic buying stuff. The cleaning supplies were like, I went to like 4 different grocery stores trying to get toilet paper. Cleaning supplies were still stocked on shelves, but paper towel and toilet tissue were all taken off the shelves. And I'm like, the vitamins, the normal stuff you get when you try to protect yourself from getting sick, it was all still stocked up there. But toilet paper, what did you think you weren't gonna find? Let me shut up. It was just like, so you can't wipe your butt because of Armageddon, like that.
And then people don't realize that, like, when the toilet paper and paper towels originally sold out, it was kind of those big name brands like Sharma and Bounty and what have you. And then all that was left was like organic hemp seed, like paper towels, which are so expensive.
Yes.
And so it was like, you've kind of done this to yourself. And maybe a concern is if people are stockpiling gas, they don't know how to store it correctly, which can be really dangerous.
I'm glad you brought that up, Anna.
Like, if it catches on fire and you have 8 gallons of gas somewhere near your house,
that could be bad. I definitely think there's someone out there that's definitely like chilling with it in their living room or something, and it's just like
inhaling all of that terrible air. Just please.
And by the way, I mean, like, it's not everywhere that everyone's going crazy, because like I needed gas in my car yesterday because I needed gas. Like I just needed to fill up my car. There wasn't a line at all. So like people just need to chill. Like, I think it's certain areas, but people just need to chill. Now, we did mention that the prices will be going up. So the national gas price average jumped 6 cents. So 6 cents. So it's still low for right now, but like, just chill. You don't need to go panic buy. Like, because that's gonna be what ends up driving up the cost. And nobody wants to pay a lot for their gas. Like, just saying. So
that's the truth. Like, just chill.
So
just relax. It's all good.
Prices naturally fluctuate in every product in the world, and I think gas is like one of the biggest ones. You can go to a gas station next to your house and it's $3.50, and then go to a gas station like kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's $2.50. So
yeah, that's for sure. And the other thing is, people also have to realize, obviously this is part of the reason why the prices would be going up. Also, like, travel is becoming like super popular again. And this wasn't even going to be a segue, but I guess I'm going to segue into it because I mean, that's what our next
that's the perfect way. That's the only way.
But no, but in all seriousness, travel, people are like driving places and stuff again. And like my commute to school is about usually like 45-50 minutes. And I swear to you, the commute has drastically changed from even September, October, November of last year to what it is now. Because more people are going back into the office, more people are going on trips and vacations and things because they're finally getting vaccinated and they're going out and just doing their thing. Or people are going back into the office because their work has brought them back, and it's just kind of how it is. But that's a perfect segue to talk about our travel story that Jazlyn brought to us. Jazlyn, what's going on in the travel world?
All right, that was no better way to do that, honestly. Hats off to you, Amanda. But
thank you very much.
According to an article by USA Today, more people are getting fully vaccinated but are they still ready to travel? Because you know that in order, you know, what does fully vaccinated really mean? And you know, what exactly does that entail? So let me pull up the article right now for you all so that we can get started. But I like how you said that people are going back into work, and that drastically changes a lot of things. Because you know, you have more people buying gas, you know, when the supply goes up, demand goes up, goes down, you know, basic economics. Yeah, y'all took economics classes, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, they said drivers were paying an average of $1.99 a gallon a year at this time, like a year ago. So it was down because nobody was traveling, nobody was going anywhere. Everyone was staying in their house. If they went out, it was just to get groceries or something. Everything was closed. Where were they going? So,
No, but really, where were you gonna go?
like, I know personally, the only times I was ever going out was to go get like Dunkin' or something.
You know what's funny when you mentioned the whole grocery store panic buying thing?
Yeah.
It got to a point where a lot of people, including myself, guiltily enough, were strictly going to the grocery store to have an excuse to go outside.
Literally,
Like, I don't know if you guys were
honestly.
doing that.
That's what I would do I would go on drives every day. Me and my mom would just like go out and go on a drive and just drive around like the area, see what was open, see what was closed, see what was going on around town. Like literally just because like we had nothing else to do. Like we were just like, all right.
Just driving. I remember,
Yeah.
shouts out to Tara, who's out today. She mentioned on a morning buzz segment at one point that that's what she would do. Like if she didn't have anything, she didn't have anything to do. And she was also immunocompromised at the time. We didn't have, you know, a vaccine or any way to protect yourself. So she would just go in her car and she would drive forever. And I feel like that's a really good way to kind of keep your head space clear, because staying inside for all these months can really do harm to the mental. And and it's really difficult. It was really difficult for a lot of us to stay home and endure all of this. So if you did, hats off to you. But
So Jazz, what is going on?
The
with
link
travel?
is non-existent. So I'm trying to find the article.
That's fun. That is fun.
I don't
We love
know
technical
why.
problems.
Yes. We can move on to the next story.
No, well, I mean, you know what? But while you're trying to find it, I mean, basically, you said it kind of a little bit in the script already, what it was about. I'm fully vaccinated, but I'm ready to travel. Now, Anna, I haven't really worked with you too much before. Are you vaccinated? Are you planning to get vaccinated? What's your story?
Yes. So I've worked for the past like 4 summers at my mom's dental office as a dental assistant. And so when the vaccine started, I have no interest in dentistry, but you know, just need a job.
It's a job, so there you go.
Yeah.
It pays.
So when the vaccine started to roll out, it was over our winter break. So I went back to work. And so then I qualified for like group 1A since I was like a highly exposed worker. So I was pretty early on in the vaccines. I was fully vaccinated by the beginning of February.
That's awesome.
And so I actually just recently, like 2 weeks ago, took my first vacation, you could say, besides like maybe visiting family's house nearby, to go visit my grandmother in Miami, because I hadn't seen her in like a year and a half. And I was like, you know what? I'm fully vaccinated. She's fully vaccinated. We're just going to be like hanging out at her house. I can do that. And I would say it was definitely very busy in the airport. Like my plane was packed, but everyone seemed very respectful about masks, especially on the New Jersey end. Florida end, maybe people were looser because of like
Florida down there,
their governor. Yeah.
Different
but Anna, you answered my question already. That I was gonna say, did you fly or did you drive? But did you feel safe? Like, how did you? I mean, now it's been at least 2 weeks since you've traveled, correct? So you've gone through basically like a quarantine period if something was gonna come up, so you're fine.
Yeah.
So how do you feel otherwise?
I mean, my mom and I wore N95 masks during the entire travel thing, and then obviously just like a regular mask while we were there. It felt safer than I thought it would, to be honest. Because when you walk on the plane, they give you a couple of like rubbing alcohol towelettes that you can wipe down your seat with. And the flight attendant staff were very strict about masks. Like they would constantly be walking up and down the aisles telling people to pull it up and pull it up. I think there was definitely still hesitancy to like take off my mask to like eat a snack or something, just because I don't know, planes already kind of gross me out. But
I mean,
it was
it's air
right.
like packed together basically. You're like breathing the same air as everybody else, so that's why I get that. I get that fear.
Yeah,
that
but overall, it was okay. I wouldn't do it like just for a willy-nilly trip, but like to do something like visiting family, I think it could be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, in this other article by by USA Today, basically Dr. Fauci and the CDC are telling us that we don't have to wear masks if you are fully vaccinated when you're outdoors and in areas with vaccinated people. But a lot of people are still, like Anna said, a lot of people are still hesitant to take it off because we're so used to living that lifestyle of, protecting ourselves, and it's kind of become a safety net, right? So this is what the article says. It says, quote, wearing a mask is one of the only forms of agency during the pandemic. So life kind of did a complete 180 for us. Couldn't talk to people, had to stay in your houses, a sense of the unknown. It was really bad. A lot of people in this generation have never seen that before. So it was a lot to unload. So what the article says, quote, is normalcy was shattered when the pandemic began. The pandemic robbed us of control. We couldn't control when we would be able to return to our workplaces, to attend in-person school, hug loved ones even, and having agency is having control, right? So the masks was really the only way people had control. So now more and more people are getting fully vaccinated, and now they're saying, with studies and research that it's safer now to walk around without a mask if you're fully vaccinated, and that's 14 days after you've taken your second dose, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's fully vaccinated. So yeah, I completely get what you mean. I have not gotten a chance to travel in almost 2 years, so I'm very, very excited. And I'm getting vaccinated sometime next week, I believe.
Oh,
So
that's
I'm getting
good.
the
That's
first I'm
awesome.
getting the first dose sometime next week. So very excited, very nervous. So I know that second dose can really hit you.
It just depends on who you are. I know it didn't hit me at all. And Anna, how did it hit you?
I just got tired. Like I got it on a Wednesday afternoon and I just had some like immediate arm soreness. And then the next day I just slept through every class I had and then slept the rest of the day. But then I woke up Friday and I was fine. So
Yeah, I mean, Jazz, I will say the arm thing is something I heard through everybody. So I
It hurt.
know for me that it was the first dose and it hurt me for like about 3 or 4 days that my arm was just like sore. But it's something to deal with. It's not like anything that's like horrible to deal with or anything. And it's better than getting COVID, was what I would say.
Yeah, honestly, like
Like,
honestly.
but yeah, I mean, I get that too with the whole hesitancy. I'm just slowly. I think everybody's just kind of slowly figuring out what works for them. Like I started, I want to say almost a month ago. I think was the first time I actually went out to indoor dining again, and I was like, hesitant to do it because I was nervous, but I was fully vaccinated. I was like, we're gonna try this because if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna want to do it.
And you're gonna be so scared forever,
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to do that either. So I started doing it and I felt like relaxed. And now I've kind of gone out a few more times and I'm getting more relaxed. It's just kind of picking your places, kind of picking what works for you. I don't know if I would be hopping on a plane anytime soon, but it's also just because like there's nowhere for me really to go at the current moment either. And also I'm a broke college student where I don't have any money to go anywhere. So like I mean, but if there was an opportunity to rise, I might like analyze the situation depending on the situation, if that makes any sense. Like you said, family, that's one thing. If it was maybe more of a trip to a place that I felt like was going to be safe, or maybe the plane was a certain airline that's been known to be safe, like it's kind of like just looking at all those specifics. But I think as the summer kind of progresses and more people get vaccinated and more people start to become more comfortable and we learn more about the virus itself, I think we will be approaching something a lot different in the fall. I think the fall will have a different look on life than we do now, if that makes any sense with COVID.
yeah, I
So-
think
I'm
the
excited.
hesitancy is like with the clause of if you're vaccinated, you can do ABC, is unless you like carry around your vaccine card or like a copy of it with you at all times, someone on the street isn't going to stop you and like confirm that you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
So you can't wear your mask outside. I think that's going to be like a little bit of an issue where it's like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And like, but hopefully we have like a majority of the population vaccinated, so it'll be on the safer end. That's the hope.
Yeah, I think we're approaching that, and I know Jazz and I were talking about last.
I was gonna
week.
just say that, yes.
We were saying President Biden had a goal of at least 75% by July 4th.
Which I think that's herd immunity, right? 70%.
I think it's 80 actually. It's been somewhere between 70 and 80, but like 70 is still a good goal. And I know he also just launched the Lyft and Uber services that will be free for people that want to go get a vaccine. So like if you're specifically going for the goal of that, you can get a free ride from Uber and Lyft. So I mean, anything's possible. I think if more people know about it and know that the option's there and it's free and like affordable and able to get it, I think we'll see more people start to get it. But for right now, we will keep you posted on the buzz as we hear more news about this kind of stuff. But for right now, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about COVID, the musical, and our thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but
question mark.
We will be right back here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Stay tuned. Jazlyn, we are back here on the morning buzz here at 90.3.
Good morning, Earth
Upper Montclair. Yes, and you can listen to the morning buzz on Spotify and Apple, and as well as YouTube. So if you are interested in more buzz content, it's all there for you.
Yes, sir. But before we went on a break, Amanda mentioned something so wonderfully elusive, called COVID, the musical. Amanda, what's all that about? What is this?
Oh goodness, I didn't even know this was like a thing until I started like reading more about it, and then it started to become a little more familiar to me again. But so, it's a new musical called Breathe. And it's by best-selling novelist Jodi Picoult and the veteran playwright Timothy Allen McDonald. And they feel like this sums up the pandemic, and they think along the veins of what they were inspired by was like Rent. You know, Rent's about the AIDS crisis in the 90s, or late 80s into 90s. And so I guess they thought this could be an interesting idea, but this brought up a whole conversation for me because obviously there's a lot of musicals about a lot of things. Come From Away is about 9/11. Obviously we mentioned Rent is about AIDS, and there's a lot of other shows that kind of deal with like big life issues. But then I started thinking about we're living through COVID still right now, and I'm like, I don't know how
nobody wants to see that.
And also, I brought in Thomas Nira, who is our entertainment contributor, and I brought him in because I wanted him to talk about the idea of right now television and film and everything. They're kind of like, oh, why don't we like add COVID to our storyline because it's something we're going through? And in all honesty, in my personal opinion,
I don't like it.
Nobody wants to see it. I don't want to watch an episode of This Is Us or Grey's Anatomy or whatever else that's talking about COVID because I'm living it. I don't need to see it. Maybe in 10 years, sure, but not now. So Thomas, thank you for joining us.
The media man. Tell us what you think.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course.
It's definitely interesting to talk about. Me and my friends have avoided talking about, TV shows and movies representing COVID-19 for quite a while now because I think it's just such like overdone and it's like so predictable to me. And now that I'm hearing about this musical and it's called Breathe, which I think it kind of made me laugh as soon as I heard
it. Sounds real a-hole-ish. That's what it sounds like. Breathe.
I just think it's
especially one with scenes named after symptoms many of us are experiencing.
I was just reading that line too.
Aches, swelling, irritation, fatigue, and shortness. By the way, this article is courtesy of the New York Times. So if you're interested in reading more about it, you could find it there.
That's how you know it's serious when it made it to the New York Times website.
But it's also Jodi Picoult, who's a really big author. She's a huge author. So. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Thomas, continue on your thoughts. I cut you off. So go.
No, it's completely fine. I just think it's like you mentioned, like there's like a lot of stuff that was done in response to certain like tragedies and periods in time, but you know, a lot of those things weren't done
While
during
people were living, exactly.
during those moments in time. So I don't know if we needed this right now at the moment, especially considering, you know, all the people that we've lost due to COVID-19. It just kind of feels like,
And the
I
other
don't
thing
know.
is, I feel like when we look at TV shows or something, because like I don't really watch a lot of too much like primetime television, but like, you know, I sometimes would like check in, see what's going on. And my problem is, and there's certain shows, and I'm forgetting some of their names, but it's most of the medical shows that are doing it, that they'll like incorporate masks and incorporate COVID in the storyline, but then they won't wear them the whole time. And then I'm like, well, you got to pick or choose. You're either incorporating it or you're not, because then you're like with a patient that has COVID and you're not wearing a mask. And I'm like, you make no sense. Like, what?
That's a very good point. I
It's
remember
for the drama. Cough, cough, Grey's Anatomy, cough, cough.
my girlfriend still she was still watching Law and Order SVU. She stopped since, but like they started like implementing COVID into the storyline.
Yeah.
We're outside like wearing masks like while at the crime scene. But then she got really upset because she told me that like, oh, when they went back to like the office and where all the detectives hang out, that they just wouldn't wear masks anymore.
Exactly. And I mean, I guess they assume that everyone's getting tested or they're fine or whatever, but still, like, excuse me, what?
It's
Yeah.
under the assumption that everybody's vaccinated. Amanda, you didn't watch the show.
But like, I'm gonna say the thing
Sarcastic.
about Law and Order too, because I don't watch Law and Order, but my mom does. And so like one day I was like, oh, I'll sit and like watch a little bit of it. I had to walk out of the room because the beginning of the episode, you know, where they do the crime or whatever, like the incident is, it was all about how this woman was running a restaurant, then COVID hit. Her mother got COVID. Her husband left in the middle of it and like got a divorce. They were having fighting, things like that. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And the woman almost lost her restaurant too. And like, because of COVID, I'm like, I don't need this because this is a reality that maybe not I'm facing, but other people are facing as well. I'm sure plenty of people, and I know this for a fact, people lost their restaurant during COVID. And people had lost family members. I lost family members during COVID. It's not something that's like, I feel like appropriate right now. I understand there's things like Rent that talk about AIDS and talk about other, but you need to give it like,
After the
a little rest. And then this was something that I thought was interesting too in this article. They also incorporated the whole idea of the George Floyd murder as well. Tim and I both felt, this is a quote, Tim and I both felt that the protests that arose were immediately tied to the pandemic, and we knew we weren't the right ones to write about it since we're two white writers. So they called on another writer to bring in that storyline into play as well.
That writer was not wise.
Which again,
not wise at all.
Which again, to me, why are you bringing a show that storyline, which is also a very like emotional thing to bring into this?
It's like one can't help but feel like if you have to bring like two of those issues in here, it's for the sake of like making something topical. It's for the sake of like,
yes.
I'm not saying that that's for sure what it is, but one just can't help but like think that it's like, oh, these are two recent things that are happening. Let's make a musical about it. And
so I'm sorry, Tom.
No, I'm done.
So in the article, to continue with the whole George Floyd thing, because you guys know already how I feel about it. Well, anybody who looks like me feels about it, honestly. The article, this is again from the New York Times. It says, quote, with Ethan Packer, Lyons wrote Fatigue, about a Black police officer whose son is arrested at a protest and badly mistreated by his father's colleague.
It feels
if
like...
you guys on the radio could see my face right now.
Well, you can if you're watching on Facebook or you watch later on YouTube.
On YouTube later.
That was a plug.
There needs to be time for reflection, and there's just for all of these events. And there's just no time for reflection.
I appreciate the fact that they didn't think that they were appropriate to write it because they're white.
Yeah.
But again, and this goes into the topic that we talked about last week, Thomas and Jazlyn, where we were talking about the whole idea of, these award shows, like kind of, doing their thing. They need to be reworked and all these other things. The theater industry, and I mentioned it last week too, is also under fire right now. And they're getting a lot of hate. And this isn't the appropriate way to do it, is to like bring this into play. Like, there needs to be a lot more other changes than feeling like, oh, we're gonna add this like one little storyline into this COVID musical. Like this is no.
And isn't the title of the musical Breathe?
Breathe.
Like, doesn't that seem like so
I feel like
irrationally
this is a joke.
inappropriate
It has
that
to
like
be a
it didn't click that people are dying of COVID because they can't breathe? And like George Floyd also died because he was strangled and suffocated. Like
Yeah.
that just seems so like blindly ignorant to make the title of the play Breathe.
So this is how I feel. Like, I'm gonna, y'all gonna hear my mouth today, okay? When it comes to stuff like this, right? I try not to be too, because I know artists, a lot of people who are artists, whether it's, whatever you create, are very sensitive about their art. So sometimes because I'm not in that realm per se, it's hard to critique. Like, there's musical theater majors, there's, journalism majors, there's English, writing majors. So it's like, I try not too much not to be critical, but there's also sometimes where sometimes you got to call a spade, and you got to say when things are disrespectful. All jokes aside, this is wildly disrespectful. I honestly don't care however they choose to spin it. I don't care how they choose to express it. It's an expression of art. No, it's not. Like, it's just completely dense, and you're not thinking. Like, let's put George Floyd and how any 5-year-old would understand why that's not okay. Why would you, it seems like you're mocking it. Like, that's not expression of art. You're mocking an event that people are living through. You can't use, you could talk about, Miss Saigon was another, play that was loosely based around a historical event. You can talk about Rent, like you said. You can talk about a lot of plays that talk about 9/11 and things like that. Those were written after the fact, and B, loosely tied, ladies and gentlemen, loosely tied. That's what you do, loosely tied those events.
I feel like with Rent and stuff, I mean, anybody can say what they want. Like, obviously AIDS is the prominent part of the storyline, but it's not the only thing that's talked about. There's stories of other kinds of love in the show, and there's other things of you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like it's not a story that's straight about we're gonna only talk about AIDS. And it's the same thing with a show like Falsettos. I love Falsettos, one of my all-time favorite musicals. And it is about AIDS as well, but it's not the whole storyline, and it's not focused on it. And it's not I don't know, because this is something that I also want to mention that this says as well. So there are also typewritten parts of the show that are beginning each chapter announcing the ever-increasing numbers of COVID-19 deaths worldwide between March and June of 2020, just as Come From Away captured the sense of global citizenship that flickered but briefly after 9/11. But again, I will say this with 9/11. I'm not positive of when Come From Away came out. I think it was 2016 or 2017. But
that is
it was years after 9/11.
Unacceptable.
It would be if I don't know, if Law and Order did a 9/11 episode the week after 9/11. And I know we
were dying.
If Law and Order did an episode on 9/11 the week after, people would lose their minds. And
the other thing is, I mean, you got to realize too, basically for COVID, it was there was times when it was a 9/11 every day, because that's how many people we were losing. And that's a scary number. And I remember being on the Buzz last year and reporting on numbers, and it was devastating because we also didn't know what was happening. And that's something that's hard. And if we look back to something at 9/11, games were postponed, flights were postponed for days because nobody knew how to react to that. And now we're kind of not knowing how to react to this, but instead we're adding it to our storylines. And I don't know. I just don't know how to react to that.
Who's gonna want to see a musical?
People are gonna
watch it. Apparently, Anna, great question. On May 14th, Breathe will premiere on Overture Plus, a streaming service for the performing arts, and the original cast recording will be released by Broadway Records. The show will be available through July 2nd. So
I don't want to relive what I've just been through for the past year and a bit, and it's just weird that they've already created this musical when COVID is very clearly not over yet.
Yeah.
We have still a ways to go, and so there's no time for reflection or processing or what if things go bad again? This play is just having a happy ending. It just seems so odd.
I feel like this is why people hate theater people.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't hate theater people, but I feel like oftentimes people who are really artistic tend to be super self-indulged, so they don't realize like how like dense they. I'm gonna keep using this word dense. Like, this is like, incredibly dense and offensive. Like, look at here, Jody and Tim. Okay, and it shows here that Tim's dad died last July from COVID. Okay, his father-in-law passed away. This is what the article says. His father-in-law passed away from COVID-19 in July. If you worked through this and you went through this, and you know, I lost my great uncle. What is a great uncle? Yeah, I lost my mother's uncle. I lost my mother's uncle last year to COVID, and he died in Ghana, so he didn't get to have a proper like burial. You know, like they just kind of like was like, all right, we got to bury him and get because you know it's so many people didn't know he was so many bodies, so they had to kind of like just bust through. It's like that's kind of a slap in the face. Like, my mother was extremely close to her uncle. Imagine she would have saw a play like this. She's gonna look and be like, what is this? And then George Floyd, like, this man was murdered in front of millions of people, and you thought that to give your own little cute artistic spin, you were gonna write it. And I hate when people take this take when it's like, oh, a Black police officer is caught between two worlds. What should he do? That's exactly what this sounds like. A Black officer whose son got arrested and is mistreated by his car. Like, what kind? No,
Obviously,
absolutely not.
I also know that like obviously the George Floyd thing and a lot of other murders that happened in the last year of Black women, Black men. I know that was a big part of this too, but I feel like it's too big to include in something like this too. If you
Yes.
want to do a
Mhm.
piece like on that, like, or something to do with like, you know, Black lives, I think you need to do it in something separate because it's just too massive of a thing to put into like something else that was already happening. Like, it's so important,
And
but
you
I don't
can
feel like
go
you should try
way
to
back.
cram it into something that's already like, you know what I mean?
It's not cute.
No.
It's
Does it mention like if his family was consulted at all?
probably not.
It
There's
doesn't
no,
say
there's no.
anything about
That's
it.
like a huge exploitation. And it seems like this has been in production for a while, and it seems like they're just in the final kind of editing stages of it. So does that mean that this was also completed before like the conviction of Derek Chauvin? So is that like,
Ooh.
that's a
Yeah.
huge step in this whole thing. So is that
Yeah.
just going to be like thrown out the window? Because that's a
It's-
huge part of this story that could be missed.
Well, Miss Jody and Mr. McDonald, us at me, Jazlyn at WMSC is highly disappointed, and I feel like you guys should rethink, you know, your careers after this film goes on Overture Plus. But with that being said, we're gonna kind of move past COVID the musical and figure out what else is going on musically in the world. Thomas, what do you got for us?
Thank you. I would just like to point out before I move on that I'm just looking forward to in a few years all the high school theater kids singing "Breathe" songs in the middle of a diner at midnight.
I'm so I hate
I
you.
feel personally attacked, but I mean that was so
I hate you, Thomas.
I can't wait for those videos to go viral on
yeah,
Twitter.
it will be like the new like Hamilton or In the Heights or something, or people will just be singing it like at like cabarets and stuff. And be like,
Yeah,
hey,
like-
you remember that pandemic we were in? Ah,
You heard the "Breathe"
Like
soundtrack?
5
yet?
seconds.
No, I haven't. Thank you.
that song about coughing is just so good.
Said no one.
Anyway, in album release news, Ohio rock duo The Black Keys will be releasing their 10th studio album, Delta Cream, this Friday, May 14th. This duo was made up of lead vocalist and guitarist Dan Auerbach and drummer Patrick Carney, who became friends in high school and were encouraged by their brothers to begin playing music together in the late 90s. The group released their debut studio album, The Big Come Up, in May 2002. And have since gone on to release a number of gold and platinum records, such as Brothers in 2010, El Camino in 2011, and Turn Blue in 2014. Delta Cream will be a cover album of hill country blues songs from musicians such as Big Joe Williams, Junior Kimbrough, and R.L. Burnside. The album was reportedly recorded in approximately 10 hours over 2 afternoons, and Auerbach said they made the album to, quote, honor the Mississippi hill country blues tradition that influenced us starting out. These songs are still as important to us today as they were the first day Pat and I started playing together and picked up our instruments, end quote. In other album release news, it has been announced that a new posthumous Dmx album will be released on Friday, May 28th, titled Exodus. The record is named after DMX's youngest child, Exodus Simmons, and was produced and executive produced by close friend and longtime collaborator Swizz Beatz. The project will mark the rapper's first album since his 2012 release, Undisputed. The album was made public on Monday, May 10th over social media, with the album cover being posted on DMX's Instagram account. In a statement, Swizz Beatz said DMX was, quote, one of the most pure and rare souls I ever met. He lived his life dedicated to his family and music. This album, X couldn't wait for his fans all around the world to hear and show just how much he valued each and every single person that has supported him unconditionally, end quote. And in other music news, the family and estate of late rapper Mac Miller have recently publicly denounced an upcoming biography about the artist's life. The biography in question is Most Dope, The Extraordinary Life of Mac Miller, which is being written by Paul Cantor and is set to be released by publisher Abrams Press on January 18th of next year. Miller's family claims they told Cantor they were not okay with him writing the book as he did not have a relationship with him, and they are troubled by the fact that he has gone through with it anyway. Cantor, a journalist who has written for publications such as Rolling Stone and Billboard, responded back by referring to his journalistic integrity and to the fact that Miller's family were made aware the book was being written and they chose to not participate. He also stated the book was still approached with love and care and that he did reach out to friends and people close to Miller who were willing to speak to him. Alternatively, Miller's family voiced their support for a different upcoming Mac Miller biography, The Book of Mac by Donna Claire Chesman, which will be released this October. So a lot of controversy involving Mac Miller biography.
Why would they call it Most Dope? This is what I mean when I say people are dense. Why would you call it Most Dope?
People have these artistic opinions and then they just think it works for everything. And it's just like, no one will be offended by this. This man has passed away and I'm just going to say this. Like, what?
The man died because of drugs and he was his struggle with substance abuse. This man was sick and you decided to mock him by calling it Most Dope.
Definitely, yeah. That's a huge oversight.
It's like, didn't you have to go to an editor, don't you have to go through a couple of edits and then nobody,
also,
this is
why is the family not stepping in earlier? Like, honestly, like, how would that even get that far? Like usually when someone's passed, you have to kind of get permission for that kind of stuff. So like, that's like,
I mean, they did that with the Tupac movie though. I remember the Tupac biography, All Eyes on Me. I remember the most recent one, All Eyes on Me. It wasn't a biopic. It was a biopic. So it was like a movie, exaggeration. And Jada came out the day before and said nobody reached out to her because her, if those of you who don't know, Jada Pinkett's and Tupac's relationship, a lot of people were confused. And she would always just kind of say like, that was like her soulmate. Or he would always say like Jada was his soulmate. Jada Pinkett is Will Smith's wife, for those of you who are unaware. I would hope that you were aware, but some people don't know. So, they had a really, really close, like they call each other their soulmates pretty much. Like they had a very close relationship. But the movie kind of spun it and made it a little bit more romantic when they've both said that that's not the case with either of them. So she said that the actress that's what Jada claimed, that nobody ever reached out to her in regards to the film. And the same thing with the Lil' Kim biopic. She does not like it because she felt like nobody reached out to her to get proper, proper and direct thing.
Also, can I
factual.
say just a side note here with the biopics and stuff, like, because you mentioned it.
No.
And it goes along the same thing with theater, redoing movies.
I like
biopics about all these artists or shows that are just like, their life. Like, and it goes with musicals, it goes with movies, it goes with whatever. I am so sick of it. Like, it's like, biopics. I am so sick of it just because I'm like, yeah, I don't need to hear about every single person because guess what? No offense, but not every single person had so much to tell. Like, it could be put into something else. I'm not saying it with specifically these artists or anything. I'm saying it more just in general. Like, like the amount of musicals that come out about people or just whatever. I'm like,
it's probably because they don't have the material. Like, no,
they're out of original ideas. We talked about this with the Oscars too. They're out of original ideas.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean,
I feel like...
Oh, go ahead.
I just really love biopics, like the New Edition one, because New Edition, all the members are still alive and well, so they were all heavily involved in the process.
Okay, all
So
right.
they were able to, they were the executive producers of all 6 of them. They were the executive producers. They taught their actors the moves, the dances. Like they would walk around, because it's not only just singing the songs and doing the dances. You have to get people's mannerisms down to make it believable. So it's like they were heavily involved. That's why I enjoyed it so much. But
also at
I
the same
agree with
time, like
Amanda.
how many times are you gonna listen to, oh, this person had like a struggling childhood and their mom left or their dad left or one of them died, and then like their manager like left them, or like, you know, they got fired by their record label because they wanted to be more different and do, like, it's like the same story every time. I mean, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
Damn,
I feel
Amanda
like-
just read me for filth, guys.
I feel like I have to question people's intentions too, especially with the Mac Miller thing, where it's like,
Yeah,
if it didn't come from the family that they wanted this to happen,
it
like
shouldn't have happened.
explicitly, it shouldn't have happened, because it's obviously just being used for publicity and money and whatnot and exploiting his story. Whereas if it came from like a family or a friend or like someone close who like had insight that he would want his story told, but if it's just
Exactly.
like producer A wants to get money, like it just seems ingenuine.
If you didn't speak to anyone who was super, super close, and I'm talking like maybe you couldn't reach Ariana Grande, but I'm talking about you couldn't reach Ariana because his relationship with her was a huge part of his life.
Mhm.
And the reason why their relationship's demise, it was because of his, you know, struggles with, you know, substance use. So that like if you didn't talk to anybody that was super, super important or who impacted his life that way, like I feel like somebody should direct a biopic or do something like this, but take a different approach. I don't know exactly how, but take a different angle. And let's see some originality. But that was completely rude and disrespectful. Whoever you are, please don't release that. That's just rude. Don't do that.
But here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey, I did want to talk about real quick before we ended. Thomas, you were talking about the Black Keys releasing a new album, which is really cool because you said what they recorded it in like 2 hours, is what you said?
In 10 hours over
10 hours.
over
I
two,
missed that.
over 2 afternoons though. Still,
I hope they didn't record it in 2 hours.
I was gonna say 2 hours is nuts, but 10 hours in 2 days, that's wild. I love that.
well, the Black Keys they're pros.
That's dedication.
I don't know if you guys listen to the Black Keys, but
I do.
fantastic.
They are. But yeah, this was, thank you, Thomas, for your music entertainment news. Thanks for joining us earlier too to talk about COVID the musical.
Of course.
I will be sure for my next audition to be doing cough. I'm going to be doing the 32 bar cut. I make these jokes because I'm a theater major, so I can. But in all honesty, thank you everyone for joining us today. I appreciate Jazlyn always welcoming me to fill in.
Always. We love you here.
Tara Cicchetti will be back next week. But I was Amanda Marino, joined along Jazlyn Sarpong, Anna Broadhead, and Thomas Nera for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Buzz. Let's head out with some Black Keys, why don't we?
Ooh.
Yeah, of course. After, of course, the top of the hour.